Hello and welcome to the first of a series of roof works that are going to be completed over the next few months. Starting at the Manoir, Richard and his team are removing the existing roof material. Richard and his guys are here for the next 4 to 5 months, and we're starting with the manor itself. The east wing, as we know it, houses the living room and master bedroom. This, we now understand, was built in the late 70s and early 80s. We knew it was a much earlier design and extension, however, we weren't quite sure how far back it dated. The materials that were used at that time were certainly old tiles or second-hand tiles. This was often used to assist with extensions fitting into the landscape and adjoining buildings. However, the use of certain materials with the construction does show us details of much later masonry work and what have you. Here, sadly, we had to get rid of a hornet's nest. It was an Asian hornet's nest, so we didn't feel too bad at calling in the heavy-duty guy. It wouldn't have been safe for our guys to be working on site. The nest was relatively small, and we do understand it was a young nest. Here we can see we can see a little insulation, which we will be keeping and putting a new layer of insulation on top of the rafters. But this is definitely showing a much newer construction. We're using a boarded insulation so that we can be kept warm in the winter and also a little bit cooler in the summer.
This one? Yep. Ah, forgot to put that bit up front. So last time we actually tried to cut out panels, didn't we? Remember that in my place? No, I'm pretty good here actually. Your joint is nice. Can you go a touch? I think this is bad, but I'm not, I mean, the joint's fine, so. Okay, do you want to get a couple of screws?
We've managed to save a proportion of old tiles that are of a good enough quality to be reused on one of the other buildings. We have a pair of semi-detached cottages on the site which we will be needing to do repairs on at some point, so these will be repurposed on potentially that roof.
One. I think we go 160.
We were fortunate enough to get Richard over the summer. Originally we were meant to start, I think it was in October or November, but that was brought forward, which means that we've got good weather on our side, and the way the guys are working is that they're doing sections of the roof at a time, which is allowing, if need be, to cover up if there is a rain cloud or storm ahead. It's been a really interesting process to watch.
That's already, this is my joint, it's really nice now. So, there's a bit of a gap at the bottom, I think if you can push down at this end. Your end, I'm limited. You good? Your joint still okay? Yep.
Garder des forces, on verra s'il a été plus malin que les autres.
When we built our house in Jersey in 2005, I had a fair amount of involvement in it and was doing a good amount of the practical work. So bringing up the plasterboard and the insulation was one of my jobs in the evenings, and seeing this machinery and how effortless it is to work with, it just makes me reflect back on the times where we were having to lift this all by hand, and it makes total sense. Obviously these pieces of equipment are expensive, so they're all factored in, but it's amazing to see the efficiency going on. This is the first section of insulation onto the roof, and it's going to be good to see over the next few days how we progress, and hopefully you'll see some very similar footage as the guys go round the building.